Ray Andrejewski has been an MLCC owner for 14 years. He states that he wants the club to be fiscally responsible. After 30 years as a chemistry teacher and president of the Redlands Teachers Association, he states that he believes he has experience working with groups to achieve consensus. Having served on the House Committee and as a Men's Golf Association officer, Ray states that his objective is to work with committees to achieve their goals and projects. Ray states that he wants to make sure club assets are maintained or improved and ensure a safe, fair MLCC workplace that will retain and recruit quality employees. Please welcome Ray Andrejewski.
Wow. You're dressed. I'm going to read the question out loud and you can follow along. Okay? The first question. Many candidates include in their applications a mention of the importance of the elected members of the Board of Directors working closely with the appointed committees. The first question. How often have you attended board or standing committee meetings recently, especially the Finance Committee, which has a pivotal role in proposing the annual budget to the board? Second, based on your observations, do you have any specific ideas about how best to maintain or to improve the effectiveness of these board committee relationships? You have up to 3 minutes to respond.
Okay, thank you, Shelley, and thank you, Hall, for putting on this, answering question thing here. And I got to tell you, okay, this was in my application too. It was one of the things I stated, is that we are a committee-driven organization. We need to work with the committees, and the committees need to be able to know that, if they decide something or they want something, that the board is going to work to the best of their ability to, achieve that goal. Now, how often have I, attended some of these meetings? I got to be honest. I retired a couple years ago, and I didn't retire to attend meetings. I really didn't. I didn't retire to become a member of this board. I have kind of made this decision to do this just because I think that I might have something to offer in that, but I didn't do it to actually go to a meeting every week. And I understand that's part of the job, and if I get elected, that's something that I will gladly do to fulfill that part of the job. As far as the Finance Committee goes, I was on that committee at the beginning of the year. I was a non-voting member of that committee, and as you know, or maybe you don't, when you're a non-voting member of that committee, basically you're sitting there in the audience, you're given, you may give a little feedback every once in a while, but you're not really involved in all the finances. So my goal for being on that was I wanted to learn a little bit about the budget, a little bit about how things worked with Mission Lakes. And so 3-4 meetings into it, I think I got it, okay? I got the idea of how things were working. I got the idea of how budgets work. I've been trained in how to read school budgets that are $160, $170 million. Ours is $4.7 million. I get the idea of how they're doing it. I can see the areas where I think maybe they might be padding the budget a little bit, talking about the finances for the golf shop down there. They're going to, bring in the outside play. They're going to do that. And whether Robert or David now could do that is kind of questionable. They might be underestimating some of the, what they're going to spend on lawyers, what they're going to spend on that sort of thing. So I got the idea. I know how budgets work. And so, then I was done. I did what I wanted to do. I've been on the House Committee for 2 years. I've missed 2 meetings. I show up to the House Committee meetings, and so if I'm elected, I'll be there at your meetings. I will be at everything you want me to do.
Thank you. Question number 2. MLCC committees have looked at remodeling the clubhouse, adding a bathroom inside the pool area, and upgrading golf course tee boxes and greens, just to name a few examples. What would be your top priorities for the board to actively pursue in order to improve the club's infrastructure? You have up to 3 minutes for your response.
Okay, we have on the House Committee been talking about remodeling the clubhouse for a couple of years. What we probably need to do with this clubhouse is really update it. It's a little outdated. We need, there's quite a bit that we need to do. It's going to be a difficult thing to do in a couple of years. I mean, I've heard people say we should tear the whole thing down. I don't think our members are probably going to be going for that. However, I do think that we could probably do some upgrades around this clubhouse that would make the place a little more attractive to come into, make it look a little bit more modern, not quite as dated, and a little safer, because what the House Committee is trying to do in the meantime is replace the carpet, replace this flooring, and replace those things that are like, are hazards. They're trip and fall type hazards. So as far as, our pool area is one of our prized possessions. That pool is fantastic. I don't swim, but I mean, I don't use it much, but I realize that many of you do, and it's one of the things that makes us stand out from everybody else. And we need to keep that up to date as much as possible and looking as good as possible. The golf course is the big one, of course. That's the one that costs all the money. But with this place, I don't want it to look like a PGA course, okay? I've heard that from some people. We want it to look like a PGA course. I don't want that. But I do want us to do maintenance on the course when needed. We have greens here that are, I'm not an expert in greens, but when I talk to people that are, they tell me that they have a lifespan. And they have a lifespan of 40, 45 years. You get to that and everything starts to build up in those things, they start to shrink, and you have to do something about it. I don't want to sit around and wait years and have some board come in that has to then do all of that work at once, or we're faced with a golf course that's starting to go downhill. I want us to help, to maintain that within our budget, whatever we can do from year to year to year, working with the Greens Committee on what kind of cycle we need to do to replace some of those greens. We need to work on those. So, if I was listening to top priorities, clubhouse to me is a priority. It's one of those top priorities. After that, I think the golf course needs to be maintained. If it's not, it's going to go downhill. And if it goes downhill, then you have a problem with bringing anybody new in that wants to golf.
Thank you. One last question.
Okay.
Oh, actually, not two more, sorry. It is vital for board members to be knowledgeable about the difference between the general budget and the reserve budget. For example, payment of utility bills is a general budget matter, while replacing the clubhouse roof is a reserve budget issue. The first question, can you elaborate on other important distinctions between those two budgets? And number two, do you have any thoughts on how to better inform the members about these differences in order to reduce confusion or misinformation? And again, Ray, you have up to 3 minutes for your response.
Okay, well, in my extensive Finance Committee meetings that I attended, which I believe was about 3, maybe 4, actually a couple last year too, because I went to a couple the year before just to kind of, I've gone to a couple of those, but I haven't been involved as a lot of other people. And I'll tell you that right now. Look, there's a lot of people in this club that have done a lot more here than I have. I mean, there are other people on this ballot that have done a lot more than I have. But what I am telling you is that I do believe that I have a temperament. I have I have the ability to to pick up some of these things and hopefully learn fast and get up to speed with that. But I'm not here telling you that I've done, I've studied all of this. But I can tell you that our reserve budget, I believe, is about 20. I believe we put back about 23%. I don't know. It was about 900,000 out of the previous year that went into the reserve every year. We're spending, I believe, we have allocated about 440,000 of that to be spent this year on reserve items. And reserve items are the things that are already built. You know, you think of them as a structure, it's already built. This structure is built. And if we do something to this structure right here, or we need improvements on it, the roof needs to be replaced, then that's a reserve item. If I want to build something brand new, as I think Jim Avant wanted to build the new pro shop out there. Don't help me, don't want to break the rules. Okay, I wanted to build a new pro shop out there. Now that would have to come out of the general expense money, and that's a little bit more problematic because that budget can be fairly tight. I mean, if you look at it, it's about 4.7 million this year, and it's a pretty tight little budget. And if you're going to take money out of there to build something brand new, that's going to be tough because now you're either going to have to assess the members for that money, or you're going to have to increase their dues. Both highly unpopular. And so those things that you probably can't do. And so how do we better inform members? Look, we always talk about communication with the members, how to better inform them, how to get them more involved in the club. And I think we do. When I say we, not me, but the communications committee and a few other people do a pretty good job of that already. I do think the member has some responsibility in they need to get in there and figure it out and find out what is going on. And so, we can always do a better job communicating, but the members also need to do a better job of getting in there and finding out. If you're interested in that, then go to finance committee meeting. Figure it out.
You have one last question.
I was told there were
I made this one up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. The last question. While you're reading this last question, Ray, please be aware that no more than 30 seconds is allotted to you for your answer. And no, we won't be handing you a Rubik's Cube to solve, so relax. Finally, please try not to use the word "and" not too many times. Here we go. In one sentence, please describe what makes you an outstanding candidate for the Board of Directors in 2019. And remember, you have only 30 seconds.
Okay, I have 30 seconds for, first of all, I could solve a Rubik's Cube.
I was going to say that.
But here it is. My one sentence is, I work and play well with others. That's it.